All right. This is editing and design. Um, this afternoon, we are going to. This is the newspaper organization. We're going to look into the organization called the newspaper, right? So this organization traditionally have got three divisions. They have two divisions regardless of the size. Two major divisions. The first one is the editorial. The second one is the B or business, and the last one is production. Right? So the newspaper organization, wherever you go, is supposed to have these three departments, and or let me say divisions. As I've said, if you go to check the history of Malawi, the media in Malawi, you discover that in Malawi once we had something like maybe around close to 50 newspapers, close to. Right now we cherish to only have two. That's what we have. Why? Because it was fair. A lack of knowledge of police. We had a newspaper, the so-called newspapers then, whereby it was just maybe one or two, three people. They didn't even know that they were supposed to have an organization like this with divisions. So for us, we are like that we can know that we need to appreciate the divisions. And now, what happens is we have these divisions in the newspaper organization, but the topmost, let me just say, like topmost guy or the person or the office that is in charge of all these is not part of this. We have what is called the publisher. The publisher. Now, these three divisions, they are answerable to the publisher. Because when you say the publisher, it represents the whole organization. When you say, okay, it's not the newsroom, it's not the business, it's not the production, right? So the publisher oversees all the three sections of the newspaper organization. And this publisher is in charge, or sometimes it's a publisher. It's also known as the chief executive. You can also be called the chief executive. Because sometimes when people say the publisher, we think like maybe it's just a machine. You could just be an individual at the top, but that person will be the chief executive or the publisher. So usually it's like you have that person could be in more or less, we could say like maybe the owner of the publication organization. could be this guy. But now we have the organization, the entire organization, we have these sections, divisions. So talking about the editorial, just in brief for the editorial section oversees the editorial matter of the newspaper. Editorial matter of the newspaper, anything to do with the editorial. That's why it's the editorial. So editorial matter of the organization is overseen by that. What it means is like all the editorial matter except anything to do with advertising. Because if it's going to be something to do with advertising, it's other parts. What I'm saying, if you go to the editorial department, they're going to be involved with all sorts of things, but they're not going to be involved themselves with advertising issues. No wonder, there is a compromise. I think you have heard that people or some other news sources, they would purchase, it's more or less like purchase. They could purchase journalists. How they will not do it directly. Sometimes they will have an agreement. To say, but usually what they do, they're not going to tell you. They are going to give you a lot of money. They'll give you money, maybe allowance. Oh, this is a gift. So the thing is, they know that they want maybe to have their product sold, but if they want to have their product sold, they need to go to the business department. But now, since you yourself you are just editorial matters to do with writing stories, writing articles, nothing to do with advertising. So when the editorial department, they invite them to do something which is seeming to be advertising. It's just something to do with the breach of the work. And the business, as you can see yourself there, business is the section that is in charge of all the financial affairs of the organization, all the financial affairs and the advertising. Anything to do with finances and advertising is supposed to be dealt with the business department or business division, right? So what it means here, it means this business decision, there is nothing, they cannot get themselves involved in a news gathering, like we're gathering just news. It's funny because sometimes you argue that how about business news? Business news is news. It's not an advertisement. The problem I'm saying that you are going to discover that journalists could be bought indirectly. Especially when it comes to business news, because when you go to gather information from these business people, they tend to palm oil. Let me put it. Palm oil your hand with the issues to do with, like, maybe they will say allowance. So the problem is most of the times you don't find stories. You can see that it's not the newsweb, but because they gave you something, then you are going to more or less like as if inventing a story. But when you read the story, you see that it's more as if it's an advertisement. How do you know that? Just go and get any paper from Monday to Friday. Malawi News Deadlines. Go to the business section of the newspaper and see if you're going to find the most interesting stories. You see, most of the stories, somehow they're not that exciting. Because the problem is most of them they are a little bit influenced by the advertisers, because instead of them, advertisers, to have an advert, and they know that when you have an advert, it's expensive. Because what happens in the newspaper, as I said, in the newspaper, an advert, like a 1 page and a half page advertisement, with maybe a color picture, You will be somewhere like, if it's not 200,000 or 300,000, quarter, maybe half page. Eh? But now, if they tell you to write a story half page, even full page, a story is free. They're not supposed to pay because it's a story. Eh? Because the story is assumed that it's you, the journalist, who went there to gather information. Eh? So these people, they are aware of that. Oh, if we are going to advertise, we have to spend 300,000. So why don't we just give this guy 30,000? We tell him, can you come and do our story? We give him 30,000, you write the story. So a person will imagine, just give me 30,000 free. For his use. So you're going to get the information, you know there's nothing, but you're going to find a way to write a story. No wonder you see most of the story, they're not excited because of that. So I'm saying there could be an influence, but normally it's not supposed to be like that. You never find, from the editorial department, they will not write like an advert, a special column. Eh? If it's going to be that, now we have to go back. So this one, everything to do with business or financial affairs, and anything to do with the advertising. Then the production division is in charge of printing the newspaper. Because as I'm saying, if you go to the newspaper organization, the printing is not done by the editorial. There is a section, it's a special section whereby they have to do the production printing. And for you to have a newspaper organization, what it means, you need to have what is called a printing press. That's what most of the people do. Here is where you have what is called a printing press. This printing press is the one that made it possible for the newspaper industry to be what it is. What is this printing press? Printing press is that it's more like it's a printer. Okay? It's that printer that can print thousands of copies at the same time. It's not a small printer. Just assume that it's a very big printer. Because the printer we have a small printer, a small whereby we have A4 size papers. Eh? The newspaper, you know how they are, it's not A4 size. I don't know if it's A2, I don't know if it's A1. So if you can have a printer of that size, whereby you can print a paper of this size, so thousands at the same time. And usually, I don't know what they use, but what we know, they use recycled papers. Because what am I saying? A normal paper, like the way you are using in your book, you see that it's actual pure white. Right? But the newspaper that we buy in our street, are they white like that? They are not white like that. Why? The reason is they use recycled paper. Papers that are not recycled are expensive. For them to be printing using the papers that are not recycled, it's much more expensive. No wonder you'll find papers like those only in magazines. Magazines that are going to be out maybe once in 3 months, but not in printing daily using papers like those. So that's what happens. But it's all everything to do with the printing. It's this development of the newspaper. So let us look more on the editorial division, because I just went through, but let's appreciate more to know what we have in the editorial divisions. What we have to know first, I believe, in the editorial division is maybe where the questions that most of the people out there, the questions that they ask, is where you can have the answer. Because most of the people, they ask you, how do you get the stories? You know, if we look around, we move around, we don't see stories out there. But come morning, there is a story on the newspaper. Where do you get these stories? So the magic of answering that mystery lies here on the editorial. That's where there is that process of news gathering. And you know news gathering means you go and get the information from the sources, news, what are called news sources. That there's that process of news gathering, which is the first step. And then that information of the process of processing. You process the information you got from the source. And then you go through after the processing is when it's going to be sent to be published. And when they publish is where it's going to be everything to be circulated, because there's going to be publishing and circulation there. So usually the news gathering is going to be done there. And this could be the most complex division of all these three. Because usually, if you go on business, it's not straightforward. They want an advert. And an advert they want, you know exactly. One page, front page, not one page, front page you don't have one page. It's only one time, I don't know what happened. Have we ever seen an advert taking the whole front page of the newspaper? Front page, where the front page that sells the story, to have an advert there, the whole page. They don't do it. Front page, you have those small spaces there, but it's funny, they are small, but they're a little bit expensive because they are on the front page. But there was only one time, that was the only time, I don't know what happened. Maybe they paid a lot of money. There is only one time in the Malawian history that I've been seeing newspapers, whereby I saw an advert. It took over the whole front page. And it was not of any other newspaper, it should be the nation newspaper. Standard Bank. I don't even know what happened. It was, that logo of Standard Bank, whereby it's like a certain block and there's that logo of Standard Bank. If you have been seeing it in that building there. The front page of the newspaper came out with that logo, the whole page. People even is surprised, what does it mean? And they claimed, no, there was the grammar said it was a story. That there was a issue, but I said no. It has never happened something like that. That was the first time. But the only way is maybe explanation. It could be Standard Bank, maybe they paid a lot of money. But it's the same thing I'm telling you that editorial are not supposed to be involved in advertisement. But the only way they can do it, they do it indirectly without people knowing. Because I even told you that there are some other stories. When you look at them, you even see this is not a story. It's an advert in disguise. So that it happens. I don't even know. I will search maybe on the internet if maybe it can be around, or maybe in our own life. I don't know that it did, but everybody was surprised. How is this? It has never happened in Malawi. Maybe it happened. I don't know. I don't remember. But that was the only time I saw. But that's what happened. So editorial, if that can happen, it will be a surprise, like that. What I'm saying. But usually, it's a complex scenario because I'm saying here, business, you know specific, exactly the space, and you know the amount, you know the charges. If somebody comes and say, I want the gallery advert, I want it, you know straightforward. In production, they know exactly that, okay, we take the stories, we put them here, because what happens in production, you see that there are different scenarios, whereby in the old school, there was the old pattern of printing the newspapers, and now we have the new pattern. The old pattern, they were like as if processing a photograph, old photographs. Right now, we use this for computers. So here it's complex because you know the process of news gathering, the way it is. It's not straightforward that you can say, even in the story that you already see the story the way it's going to look like. No, you see, it can be anything. You don't even know, you cannot even anticipate some of the sources what they're going to say. You expecting them maybe to say, unless maybe you are manipulating, because as I'm saying, professional journalism. You know what is called techniques interviewing techniques. If you want to be a professional, an expert, when you are interviewing, one of the ways you do it, when asking questions, you usually don't ask close-ended questions. If you want a person to say more, close-ended questions are the questions whereby you are limiting a person from saying more things. You usually ask open-ended questions. And you don't ask him what are called leading questions. Leading questions are the ones that it's like you're telling a person what to say. Like, you have been hearing about a lot of leading questions in our media. Something has happened. You, as a journalist, what you want to know is you want to gain the reaction. When you say you want to gain the reaction, it's either the person is happy or the person is excited or is sad. But you cannot make a decision. For example, you want to know the reaction of the person. So what you say, you can say, how do you feel about this? A person will say, I'm happy. It means you don't know what the feeling of the person is. But leading question will be, how excited are you? You see? When I'm saying, for example, you yourself, I'm asking you, what do you know, they could have already made a conclusion that no, not you are not happy. So that's the leading question. So when you do that, it's like you are directing a person to say some things already, but that's what you don't do. So I'm saying usually, in our news gatherings, we don't know what to expect. That's why it's a little bit, it's a complex division as compared to the rest. So we have got characteristics of our personalities that we're supposed to be found in the editorial. There's a lot of persistence. We need to have people who are maybe robust, daring, optimistic, because to be pursuing stories, you find people that will be refusing to give you information. In advertisement, you don't usually find that people, maybe they will tell you they will advertise or not, and sometimes you will just place the advert on radio, or but in this one, people will not just give you information. You need to find a way. So you need to have people who are with specific qualities. So we know, as I'm saying, in the editorial division is where information is gathered and the stories are written. You have got people who gather and write stories. And sometimes they will also collaborate with what are called or they subscribe to what are called news agencies or other media houses. Sometimes they just subscribe to other media houses to get information and the news agencies, right? And also here, so I think we'll see that in here there is the music gathering here. Music gathering is involved here. Music gathering, then you have news writing here, news writing, and these people also are involved in what are called make up and design, right? They're going to be involved in makeup and design. Makeup and design is the newspaper is to decide to say which photograph is going to be used. Where is the photograph supposed to be placed? Where is the story supposed to be placed? What logo do you what font, which is called typography? Those characters that you see, for example, Romans, whatever, Times. So you are the ones who are going to decide, because what happens is there is a division where printing division, they will use the computer to print, but they're not going to decide to say, let's use this font type. So you're going to be involved in this makeup and design, because the designing of the newspaper, the where to place the photograph, where to place the news, the story, the typographical displays, you are going to be involved in that one. And as I said, these people are they do subscribes to other media institutions and news agencies. That's the editorial. And okay, now let's look at the personnel that is found in the editorial department, because I just talked about in general. Okay, in the personnel, in the editorial you will find okay, I think I'm read the others because I'm being stingy with his space as if it's a lot to do what I like. In here you have, what do you talk about personnel? At the top you have a guy called, or a madam called editor in chief. Editor in chief, let me say. You have editor in chief, who is like now the top guy in that one. Then you have editorial page, editor. Then you have what else do you have? Then you have managing editor, What else do you have? Then you have city editor. Then we have desk editor. Then we have news editor. No wonder it's called an editorial that you have plenty of editors here. Editor. Then you could have what you did know is like, it's not that all these editors are going to be found. You depend on the size of the newspaper. Normally they're supposed to be there. And then you have those editors, then you have got what is called wire editor. Then here you have reporters. We have reporters there. And all the reporters, because more or less like from here to here, you see that like they are editors, more or less like the type of editors that are found. From here is the reporters. You have a reporter, or you have reporters. So it says, let us say that on the reporters, we can break it down. The one I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to be like, you have on the reporters, you have general assignment reporter, and the name is it is saying on this one, general assignment reporter. You don't have a specific, you don't report on a specific maybe area. You are just reporting. You report on anything. Then you have what are called beat reporters.
It's still under reporter.
Okay, yeah, because I'm just saying at the top. So this one is at the top, and these guys are editors. So sometimes even the hierarchy does not matter, but you just have to know that you have this type of editors. So on the reporters, these are the type of reporters you are going to find at this institution. Like general assignment report, it's a type of report. It will depend on how it goes. You have, for example, some other institutions, like big institutions, you have reporters that will only report on specific issues. Maybe it's some they will only report on health. Some, so by one reporter will report on sports, the same one will report on anything. So it's a type of reporter, right? So I think even the name like saying this general assignment is general. Beat is specific. You have, for example, you have sports. If you only report on the sports, you are a beat reporter.
So let's say a big reporter. Let's say that he reports any other thing except that one. Yeah.
What I'm saying is that because sometimes it happens. You cannot do it out there. You are a reporter, or even I've done it before, whereby I was like a sports. I'm a reporter. I'm a sports reporter. Let me say. You can have scenarios whereby maybe on the business desk everybody's busy and they don't have a reporter, but you are free. They could molest us like beg you, like, you can't explain fast. But it's not, you are not, that's not your aim. But now we will have some other reporters who they are not specific. They will just report on anything. I would tell them to go, there's a function about sports, they will go and cover. There's something about politics, they will go and cover. So if they don't have a specific thing on reporting, that one will be a general assignment reporter. They will be reporting on anything. But there are some who are special, like on the specific desk. And they, even on the desk, they could say, let me say, sports desk. On the sports desk, there could be maybe other reporters who only report on football. They will not report on the netball. They are going to be told that you're going to be reporting on football. I know. But sometimes, maybe that is going to be here, on the specialist, because that's another one. But it big is more on the as a whole, maybe sports, health. But you could have on the sports, you could have only maybe basketball. So then you have what are called specialists, right? Specialist reporters. So you could view it from here, that you have a general assignment, then you have a beat, then you have a specialist. Let me just quickly, because I'm already studying the question here, before I study here, I can just even start talking about, like, if you're talking about the beat reporter, I'm sure general assignment, as I said, general assignment reporters, they cover and report various kinds of issues. They cover and report various kinds of issues, especially conferences and the emerging issues. They are not specialists in any specific field, at least in practice. They may also rewrite stories. So they are like, I would say, maybe general Peter. That you are in the newsroom, you could report on anything. Meaning, there could be a disadvantage and advantage for this. If you are a general assignment, you could be advantage because you are reading a pen. That maybe a desk doesn't have enough personnel to hire to ask you. The only problem would be you could not be an expert, because if you are going to be a specialist, which we are going to talk about, and if you only report on a section of maybe issue, it means you have no knowledge about that. You know people to contact, because you want to report on those people. Like people who are specialists, who may want to report on sports. They have got the contacts of personalities, football players, whatever. But when the person who reports on maybe sports next day, other things, we just have a few contacts on sports, so they will be like that. But normally, this one, as I say, they report on various kinds of issues.
A big reporter is more like a specialist.
Okay, let's go to the big reporter. Big reporter covers definite areas, areas such as the courts, the police, or the legislature. Like you have specific, for example, say, okay, you are going to be reporting about the court. The issue is to do with the courts. So there's going to be only one person who is going to be reporting only about the course. There's going to be somebody reporting only about maybe one thing only. It's in general, let's just talk about that. Let me say a little bit about specialists, maybe, so that we can differentiate one with this one. All the specialists reporters handle more complex subjects, right? Because in this one, you will have, we will say like, they will cover more or less like many organizations. Maybe there's an organization, you will be dealing with that organization as one person only. Then this one will not be an organization, it will be maybe a specific issue, not organization as such. For example, when you talk about handles more complex subjects, like let me see, talk about energy, maybe we talk about urban issues or maybe environmental issues. And the newspaper also use columnists who write regularly on subjects in which they specialize. Because specialists, I think the name says this themselves. It's like they specialize in something. They could be, for example, even it could happen, you could have even a lawyer, like in the newspaper. There are some other columns. You could see a column. The one who writes that column could be a pastor. And the pastor is writing on religious matters. So you know that a pastor, he knows more about theology. So what it is, he's a specialist. When you see, he knows more, it's not just a matter of that he is reporting. So when you get something written by a pastor and talking about theology, you know that it's going to be more. Or for example, as I'm saying, if somebody is writing a column about law and the person is a lawyer, and you know that this one is not just specializing specializing because he's writing one thing, but he has got more knowledge of that thing because he's a lawyer. So you will have certain similar. So for example, if you are reporters, you will have reporters who also have speciality in specific. Maybe they have been reporting on that issue for a very long time, so that they know more about that. So because of that, you just engage with okay, you're going to be dealing with this, right? So what else can we talk about this specialist? Like say here, most columnists, what we see in the newspaper, which is true, most columnists are not part of the newspaper staff. If you want to know, check the weekend newspapers. Most of them that you see, those columns you see, sometimes they'll put a picture of the person, sometimes they'll just draw a cartoon, then there's a column. Most of them are not employees of that organization, they're just specialists on some issue, maybe health issue, or maybe whatever. So they are working as reporters on that case, but they are special. They could be categorized as specialists, reporters on that one. And many columnists are freelancers, write a specialized subject for newspapers and magazines. Special sections or specialized desks in newspapers have editors who may work with a few subordinates. And these are the picture editor, the women page editor, the fashion editor. And I think this is the example. There's a lot of, when you see the newspapers, those columns whereby they talk about fashion, you see people that have been featured there. Maybe the person, you see, most of them maybe they're in the fashion industry. So specialists are those whereby somebody is reporting on the issue that is he or she specializes. We even here talk about newspapers also employ cartoonists, photojournalists, layout editors, or graphic designers, right? So if you have the cartoonists, they work in hand in hand. If they want to do cartoonists, people think like, it's just a matter of cartoon. They also tell stories because you have cartoons like talking about something, but in that person is a specialist, like a cartoonist. So somehow we could say, because that's what's called caricature. Whatever. But why do we know that we have all these? Apart from, apart from thinking of this, in addition to what we were talking about, these editors, then you have these reporters. Then, in addition to that, adding on what we have is we have these people like cartoonists that will come, not just for this, but as part of the editorial division. So you have cartoonists, then you have what are called photojournalists, who are not just like these normal journalists, but we're going to have like photojournalists who are specialized in photography. Then you are going to layout editors. They are going to be editors, not just like these editors, but they are editors to deal with the layout of the newspaper. We have got graphic designers, and we can also they do also there. And okay, what else do we have here? Okay. So usually you find some other people. Okay. I forgot that I didn't quickly say about this because just jumped and then talk about that. As the act said, editor-in-chief heads the editorial department. The one who heads the editorial department, or the head of the editorial department, is the editor-in-chief. And also called the associate editor. Yes. This one, as I say, editor-in-chief is also known as the subordinate. Where was I? Okay. Also called. What was I saying? I was saying something, but I see that I was talking about. I think my eyes went somewhere where I was not supposed to look at. But this one is just only the editor and some. What was I saying? Maybe it's because this afternoon. And then the time of resting is now. This is just for the editor because it's the guy at the top. When people say the editor, without mentioning who they're talking about, they could just say, assume that this is the guy who is the top guy at this organization. That one. So he's also called the editor, or with the advent of the chain ownership, the executive editor. So he might be called the executive editor or the editor-in-chief, because normally the actual editing from the stories, from the sources, this editor-in-chief does not receive stories from reporters. It does not. The one who receives stories from reporters is this guy, editorial page editor, and the desk editor. I think this one, let me just say, I think this one, editorial page editor, we usually get information from the guy, the people who got from the reporter. But when we talking about the actual encounter with the reporters, we would have maybe let me say, quickly because that's what I'm trying to look at here. So the editor works directly for the publisher because, as I said, the top guy is the publisher. Then this is the one who is in contact with the publisher, the editor-in-chief. If something is to be communicated to the publisher, you need to go through the editor-in-chief. And if they are, because the publisher, maybe for just all information, different media institutions with different newspapers, they have got what is called policy, newspaper policy. Meaning, you know that usually they lean on a certain side. If maybe it's a religious guy, they could be leaning on a certain church. If there is a political, if it's in government, it could be. So that element, what you still know that if I can write this story, it cannot be published because the publisher will not is not going to accept it. So it means there is a policy. So the one who sets the policy of the newspaper organization is the publisher himself. So to discuss the policy, if they want to change the policy or whatever, it means he, the publisher, and the editor-in-chief are the one who discuss. Okay, how can you go about it? If the publisher wants something to change, you tell the editor-in-chief to tell other editors to do that. Right? So the editor-in-chief is also responsible for all papers content, with the exception of advertising. As I've said, that the content of all the papers, the other desk, if you go at the editorial room, you are going to find the desks, sports desk, business desk. So content of all those is the one who is answerable. If you one of the desk you write a story that is a bad story, he can be answered. Because what happens, you have different desks in a newsroom, what is called a newsroom. After submission of the stories, the editors will go through the stories, which are desk editors, right? They will go through the stories, and after going through the stories, they will have a meeting, editorial meeting. At the editorial meeting, when they are done with everything, when it's about to go to be published, all the copies of the papers are given to the chief editor. What they do, editors will send the stories to the design group, and they will print. They have photocopy print. Sometimes there is no paper. You have pictures, but you have a black and white copy. Then they will take that black and white copy. They will give to all the editors to check if everything is okay. Now, if everything is okay, they will give it to the chief editor. So chief editor will make corrections. If there's somewhere they need to make correction, he's going to, as if he's marking, he's going to be marking all the pages. And if he's going to approve them, because after marking, he's going to approve them. This is okay. This is okay. Then it's going to be sent to the designing group that are going to edit do the collections, then they'll publish. So no one, as I'm saying, if you have a newspaper with an error somewhere, you don't find a specific reporter apologizing. They apologize as a newspaper because he is the guy who is responsible, the chief editor, who is the top. So they will should act as if it's a paper or that is made that mistake. He's going to be answered. How did you let that to slip through? So, editorial page editor is directly under the editor-in-chief, and he also called the associate editor, and he is responsible for the editorial page and the what's called OPED. OPED, it means opposite the editorial page. The same OPED, like this. OPED, so it's also it's responsible for the OPED. Opposite the editorial page. I believe that you are aware of the editorial page. What the editorial page is. You know the editorial page? because the only problem is there's a course called editorial right. So I just think that, okay, maybe you are the one I was teaching. Okay, in a newspaper, if you have seen any newspaper, daily newspaper, even weekend sometimes, front page, you see the front page. So the stories you see on the front page, and most of the pages, are the stories that the reporter reported. They did not put their opinion there. They go to sources, they will go to you, and they tell you, ask you questions. What you say is the what is they're going to write there. So it will have that as a newspaper, as I'm saying, newspaper that they could have policies, or they could write, because they will only write what you say. And then if they want to find out other opinion, they will ask someone, they only write what they say. They cannot say what they think as a reporter. You don't do that. It only normal story. So, as a newspaper organization, you might feel that no. This story, they are saying this, but there is it's not. We need to clarify something. This person, maybe this source is lying about this, although he will say it, but that's not the truth. But you don't know, you are not writing the story. So the only place whereby the opinion of the newspaper can be written is where it's called an editorial column. So the editorial column, usually when you open the page, inside there's a front page, you open it on the back of the front page. There's a small section where they say comment. I think we have seen that. It's usually, if the page is like this, it's usually it will buy a column like this, not half of the page. And then they will put the address of the newspaper here, and they will write a comment here. Like in bold letters. I don't know if you have seen something like that. Okay. And there's no what is called byline, because a byline is the name of the reporter who wrote the story. When you see all the story, all newspapers stories, what you see they will write a headline, they say by Wagwag. So the by Wagwag is what is called byline. Right? So editorials don't have a byline. They'll just say comment, then they will write a headline there. Maybe government is wrong. Something like that. So they will explain here. So usually editorials are not written by one person. Editorials, all the like these editors, like editors at the newspaper. Maybe you have 5 editors or 6 editors or 7 editors. You could choose a team among the editors, maybe 5 editors. Then you are going to be discussing an issue. Then you decide you want to comment on. Usually, you comment on the popular issues. Maybe something is happening. Like right now, you will comment on Mata Zuma and say something. So, the only difference between editorial column and news columns are that editorial columns represents the views of the news organization. That's number one. It's like, it's not representing the views of maybe one person. No wonder there's no Bible. And 2, usually they don't have pictures. They just have comment. And you rarely find mistakes on the editorial because it's written by, it's representing that all the editors of this newspaper are the one who wrote this. So you imagine all the editors coming together and then you have mistakes. So usually, but now you have, that's what this one, what is called editorial page editor, whereby you wrote, then you can choose one person to write. But the whole article, I mean, you are the ones who are going to discuss the whole everything, but there could be one person who is now going to be as if more or less like an editor of that, right? So the editorial page is that what we're saying, that is where the newspaper comments on something, on topical issues as an organization, right? So usually on the radio there's also editorial on the radio, but it's not called editorial. They will say maybe a comment. I heard it or sometimes they will say today's comment. I heard it on the radio, whereby they have this. So they will comment. Usually it's a topical issue. And they will make their opinion. For example, they will say, okay, the story is saying that, but for us, we feel And the other issue is like there's nothing like the use of person perspective. Eh? Because if it's newspaper, they usually use you don't use first person unless it's a quote. When it's a quote, it means you're quoting a person that I'm saying this. But usually you use the second person or third person. He's saying chapter. But in this one, you put it like a first person. But you don't use as a single first person. It's like we feel something. So that's the editorial. But you're going to learn more about the editorials. There's a course I don't know which year about the editorials. Third year, okay, yeah. So maybe you know more about the editorial. So this one editorial, it's like you say he is responsible for the editorial page and the opposite editorial page. Right? The editorial page editor reports directly to the editor because the newspapers are trying to separate opinion from news to the greatest extent possible. So as I was saying, this one editorial page is more or less like an opinion of the newspaper, which is not allowed in normal news that reporters, you don't put your opinion there. But this is only opinions in newspaper you can have on the editorial page. You can have opinion on the columns. You see those columns, but in those columns usually there are opinions of maybe one person, maybe two only. Their names are there, and even the newspaper distance themselves. They will say the opinion on this maybe page are not connected with us. They are maybe for work. They usually distance themselves. But when it comes to editorials, it's them. They are the ones who is saying something, right? So this is the guy that is the more or less like it's an editor, but it's special for the editorial page, and the opposite of the editorial page, specific story. Managing editor also, yes, it's also reporting to the editor-in-chief in the managing editor, and is responsible for the day-to-day operation of the newsroom. The managing editor is a relatively powerful figure who hires and fires staff members and supervises various sub-editors. So, as you can see, managing editor, you're talking about, yes? Oh, okay. Managing editor, I think the key should be managing. It's not just an editor, it's like the way you are a company, that there is a manager. So himself is more or less like in charge of the newsroom, because I said newsroom, at the department you have, like in the editorial department, you have what is called a newsroom. It's that area where you have reporters, right? So there is a guy who is responsible for that newsroom, that okay, see how he's operating, and he's the one who will say who can even hire reporters, even fire reporters, right? So it's like the manager of that. And when you have city editor, works for the managing editor and is responsible for local news coverage, including assignment for local reporters. This one, usually this city editor could even be located, not on the specific newsroom, right? Because it will even be somewhere else, maybe at the branch of the newspaper. But the thing is he oversees, as you can see here, oversees the local news coverage, including the assignments for local reporters. So you see how the assignments are going for local reporters and the like, right? Okay, let me see this. So here there's I think desk reporter here, and the desk reporter, depending on the size of the newspaper, other news sections such as sports, business, entertainment, and features, we have editors supervising them. So I think I said that already, that the desk reporter, what it means is just, editor, is that editor who is in charge of a specific desk in the newsroom. When I say desk, they are talking about, it could be sports desk, could be maybe business desk. Could be, so all those sections where we have desks, they will have specific reporter, editor in charge of that particular desk. These sections are seen as desk, as you already said, talking about business, entertainment, features. So those are desks. So the desk editors are indeed copy editors working with special desk. The editor design their pages subject to the news editor supervision, right? So this one, because I'm saying what happens, desk editors are the ones that they are going to decide. Okay, on our page we've got 2 pages. Okay, where is the real story going to be? The real story should be here. So they could be involved in designing that page, where the story is going to be placed on that particular desk. Not so many desks, but just that particular desk. Okay. News editors, also working for the managing editor is the news editor, who is responsible for preparing copy insertion into the page. So news editor is like in general. We want to say news is news. Because sometimes when you say desk editor, it could be not just news. It could be maybe talking about features. I know you're going to say feature story, but usually features could be like a creative type of writing. But we're talking about people who are responsible for just news material and what else overseas. And the news editors supervises what are called copy editors. Those copy editors could be a sub for like on the there's something to do on the desk. Copy editors are those editors whereby you have a story, it has gone to the editor. So they can take that story and go through it, then they'll give somebody to go through it as a copy editor. So that is going to be specific for looking for errors in a particular copy. So he works with those. And on major stories, the news editor will often consult with a managing editor and other sub-editors before a decision is made. So usually they are involved in that. We will have that wire editor, and wire editor or news service editor edits and coordinates the national and international news from services such as the association. So wire editor, in short, when you just see wire in our thing, wire, you're talking about like those what are called international feeds. International feeds like these, like those stories that you get from international, from the international, or from the international platform, from the diaspora, or from news agencies that are from the international, like popular news agencies, like you have got the Associated Press, which is the AP news agency, you have got Reuters, say Reuters news agency. You got these are the two. This is Associated Press. AP is Associated Press. These are the main Associated Press, AP, and Reuters. These are the main 2 news agencies of the world. So, you are the one responsible for getting the stories. For example, I say most of the stories, like on the wire service, are those stories that you cannot send the reporter to say, okay, for example, there's a Manchester United game against the Israeli team. Do you send the reporter to what happened to cover the story? You don't do that, but you see it in the newspaper. What do? They'll just go on the internet. So usually, because you are in business, you don't just go like the way we do, that you want to get information on the internet, you just go and copy. You don't do that, because you are going to be safe. So you need to have what is called the rights to that copy you are saying. So what they do, they subscribe to these into it. So these were they are, what I say news agencies. They sell news worldwide. They have got reporters in all the countries in the world. If something happens in Malawi, there is a reporter here in Malawi, so they will get the pictures, they will get the stories. So you find them. So you say, well, I want to have a story from what is happening in Malawi. So what you do, you subscribe it. Usually they will give you a computer, their computer, whereby you will be finding stories from there, sports, you are internet, you do browsing. So because at the end of the month you pay a fee. So because you pay a fee, it means if you copy any story from there and publish it, it's not a crime because you pay, you are bought it. So that's what this music is. So you have an editor. I saw what they do, because what they do, even myself I've involved. I was not a copy editor. I was not a wire editor, but I tested this before, because sometimes they were told, okay, can you go and get the international stories? So what you do, you go on the pages, for example, in sports, you decide, you say, with these stories, which one can I use? Okay, I think let me take this story. And then, okay, what picture can I use this one? So you make a decision, but you don't even usually write the story. You just pick the story and you decide to where to place it on the page. You say, I'll take this story, I'll take this story and that story. So you take the story, you copy the story, you copy even the photographs, and there you don't want to use those photographs. You go and get other photographs that are good quality. You decide. But the one who is responsible for that, usually you find they will have that editor who are going to be overseeing that. Okay, it's in the shape. Then, as we are talking about the reporters here, which are these are the first gatekeepers in the series of gatekeeping in the editorial department. So when you say gatekeepers, because the editors and the actors are gatekeepers, what are they? It's like they are the ones who will decide what should be published and what should not be published. Because when you have editors, reporters, to make a decision to say, I want to go and cover this story, they have already made it. It's a gatekeeping already. There are so many issues happening there. They have decided to go to cover one thing, not the other thing. And when they cover another thing, they will decide to say, one thing should I include in my story, and what things should I leave out or leave out. So they are doing getting wrong. They will decide what to write, what not to write. So when they take the stories and go to the editor is another gatekeeper, the second gatekeeper, who is going to decide, no, this is not supposed to be there, or maybe this one should be included, or what. So the first gatekeepers of this editorial department are the reporters. So you have these reporters, gatekeepers, and as I say, while on the field they make decisions on the aspect of the story to spotlight, and this is the editors. We already know. So from there is when you have these from the reporters. We have all these one talking about general reporters, beat reporters, and it's somehow it's enjoyable when you have beat reporters, whereby you go somewhere you just concentrate, especially people like beat reporters when we have people who report about business. I'm saying them, they have a good right. Because most of the business stories, business sources, they make life easier for you. Because when you go to most business sources, it could be a company, they are prepared. They will give you the brochure of their product, a brochure with all the information, with they are prepared. Most of the time, if it's a company, they will send you the soft copy. They will tell you we have got all the soft copy of this vehicle, pictures there. They will tell you all the details. So, and two is you don't usually find controversial stories in business. I know they are there, but I noticed in Malawi they don't usually write controversial stories. Because some of the stories you find on the front page. Some of them are really business stories. But business stories, because you have a relationship with sources, and most of these sources are companies, businesses. So when you go to them, they make sure that they give you a good allowance. So you know that, the way with my relationship with this company, if I write a bad story, you are in trouble, you are not going to be benefited. So I noted that most of the reporters and business, they avoid that kind. And I'm saying, if a normal story, you go somewhere, if you don't have a transportation at your place, if there is no transportation, you have to find a means of transport. Why, when you go to most of these business guys, they will even call you to tell you they are planning a function here. And okay, when can we come to pick you? They will send their own transport, and most of the time you will find an executive vehicle. You come to pick you up where they are having a function, is either at the hotel somewhere. So it's like when you are in business development, you visit the hotel, you visit different hotels, and you enjoy. Sometimes I'm saying it's not about it. So those business people that are into business, they like it, they enjoy it. When you are a specialist, but especially business, you will be in some other story, maybe fields that are maybe difficult, even to get information. So it's the general reporter, aside with the reporter, sometimes you'll be having a good time, sometimes with the jail. Sometimes you'll be said to do this, and it's going to be bad when you get involved in what is called investigative journalism. I don't believe you heard about that. So investigative journalism is dangerous because you don't just do it. It's a type of journalism that could put some other people in trouble. So when you, like sources, they are not willing to give you information, that's number one, and you could be in danger because, of all sorts of things. So some of the media institutions, they will just tell somebody to go and cover something which needs investigative reporting without protection. Because if you are an investigative reporter, they need to give you protection. People will come they will tell people to come and build you up, because they know that this one is trying to find information to expose us. You know what's happening in the government, with Martha Zube. I did feel she was a reporter. It's what is happening there. When you want to write stories that will expose big guys in an organization, they will be going after it. That's what happened. They will make sure that this person is making noise. What can we do? So, and they will, first of all, you need information from the same guys. But because they know that you're going to expose them, they will not be giving you information. So you need to find a way, how am I going to get this information? So it's a tough job. Only if you are going to be told to be investigative reporter, a newspaper organization should have an agreement with you, special agreement. Because you are not only a reporter. They need to give you a good package, assurance of protection. Yeah, because somebody will just tell you go. So you hear the reporter, that's the thing, which is bad. When you go BBC, CNN, they don't just release it. Anyhow, okay, are you following the page? Sometimes they are told people to go in Afghanistan, and it's dangerous somehow, like BBC, CNN, whatever. Reporters are killed sometimes. You go war zone, put on the everything, like battle zone. So, but that's not the investigative, but that's war reporting. It's a special type of journalism. There are people who specialize in war reporting, whereby they are told if you are in a conflict zone, what do you do? Issues like you need to put on clothes that is going to be identifying you as a reporter. Don't go somewhere where you are not identified. You would be shot. So you should have, like if it's BBC, put on a clothing that is indicating BBC. Journalists out there. It's a big issue. But here, I don't know if you have a war reporting here. We don't have war, but okay, so maybe we should start one. I'm just saying, people were saying, sometimes when you are aware of these policemen, sometimes they just go and take us people, demonstrators. Why? it's because we don't have war in our country. At least sometimes we should have a friendly war. Maybe from Mozambique, Zambia, at least for them to have something to do. It seems that they don't have anything to do. Do you know what the war is like? It's not a joke. War is something else. But yeah, okay. So I think that's just the pause there. Let's see, did I stop? Yeah. Oh no. I think where was it's like I stopped where I didn't talk about the business development. Yeah? I did. I was on work. I talked about editorial, but I didn't really talk about business. But it's not a problem. As I say, business development handles such things as accounting, or business division. Handles such things as accounting, personnel, and building maintenance. Issues to do with maintenance of the building, or issues to do with personnel, that managing the personnel of the company, and also accounting issues. That's the business department. The business department has the primary responsibility of keeping the paper in good financial state. It's like the financial responsibility is okay, the finances are flowing. That's the business department. Within the business management, duties are generally subdivided into 3 major areas. So we can just say, if the business management, you have got advertising, which is a section. Then you have got circulation, which is another section. Then you have got promotion, right? So advertising, you know, is like people have come to the want to place adverts in their newspaper. That's the section of advertising will be dealing with that. Then you got circulation, the one that is involved with ensuring that the newspaper is circulated. The ones that take the newspaper and give it to these vendors who sell newspapers, then that's the circulation department. Then you have got the promotion, right? So promotion is anything to do with, like you talk about it, involved sales, and the subscription programs and all that. Okay, so finally, this one, as you say, the what? I deleted. That's why I'm not seeing the production. The production is, that's what I'm saying, is in charge of, let's just say, the printing out of the papers on the press. Here they were saying is in charge of filming, plating, the mechanical press lines. But the filming, it's an old process. A long time ago they were filmed. The carbon copy, then they were going to the public, printing. But nowadays, they don't film it. They just send it using the computer, but there's a plating. Plating, they have like specific plate, and then they will send it to where to be printed. But usually, in short, it's whereby it's involved in the actual, the printing of the paper. It's done here, right? So, that's the production. Right, so those are the divisions of the newspaper. I don't think it's in that show, but it's in detail. Right, so I think for today we can pause there, and we'll see what we can do. Did you saw those